The following production is part of the Play Some Video Games podcast network. In a world full of podcasts, these executive producers decided to band together to make us better. Iafrate, JoeySplats, Caro Underwood, Dante Bellini Jr., Jared Gauthier, Dude 427, Kevin Austin, Josh Borbone, Tammi Ryan, Robert Miller, Tim Aulph, Joel Brooks, Martini Jean, NastyBoots, David Ray, Jesse Armstrong. But then there were some that went for gold. Sheldon Benedict, Tony Baker, and Panache Malloy. Not satisfied by gold, then comes Corey Hicks, found at twitch.tv/chicks_18, as well as Mr. Mark Moody, found at youtube.com/outoflives. These are the ones that make us better. Thank you. Thank you all.
I know you, your past, your future.
Greetings, ladies and gentlemen, denizens of the Empire. It is time, again, for the state of the Xbox Empire. Joining us this month to discuss this Halo franchise series is a first-time guest, member of PSVG, Q. Welcome to the program, good sir.
It is an honor to be here, Nathan. I mean, honestly, I knew that you were holding me off for a special episode. I'm like, why haven't I been on this Empire podcast? And I'm like, he must hate me. But then I realized, no, he can't hate me. It's because he's waiting. I'm like the wild card. I am the Exodia. I am the Blue Eyes White Dragon, and I'm here today to talk Xbox with you guys tonight.
That is very true. We had to save you for a special appearance. And obviously, we're also joined for our third person with Mr. Luke Lohr. Luke, welcome to the program.
Hey, man. Thank you for having me.
It's
very
good
to be back.
And, you know, Q, this is your first time. And everybody remembers their first time. So the first time for your Xbox experience, though, is what we want to hear about now. So why don't you tell us, how were you introduced? What was your first experience on the Xbox?
I must confess my sins, Nathan. So here it is. I used to be a Nintendo hardcore gamer. One day we were at my cousin's house and we were playing Super Smash on the GameCube, and it was great and we were having fun. And then one of the older cousins, one of the ones that were old enough to be, we were nowhere as cool as they were. You know, they had jobs. You know, they were in their old teens. He walks in with this console that looks like it was crafted by the gods. It was an OG Xbox, and he puts it down. He hooks it up, and suddenly he's playing Halo Combat Evolved, and our lives were never the same. Suddenly, I looked down on this Nintendo GameCube, and I was like, "What is this? What is this?" Because that machine right there, Halo Combat Evolved, that is just blowing my mind right now. So that was my first Xbox experience, and I went on to become one of the most diehard Halo fans that I know. Part of my, I guess, everything from like LAN parties, you playing Halo to, Halo 2 with friends on the weekends, connecting like 4 or 5 Xboxes. I don't know if 5 was realistic, but maybe 4 Xboxes. Those were the golden days of my youth, playing late night with my friends. So
the good old LAN parties, right? The cross.
Yeah, man.
Not cross-platform. What was it called back then? It was cross
cross. Wait, what?
I mean, we used crossover cables if it was two consoles together, but I don't know. I thought it was like something with a cross, but it's oh man,
Well,
those are
we would get a router and just connect all the Xboxes to that router,
yeah.
and just you would have like 4 Xboxes in like different parts of the house. It was my parents' worst nightmare because they would come home and be like, "What the heck happened to my living room? And why is there all these cables?
Why are all these cables running around?
Why is this death trap happening right now?" But it was fun, man. It was fun.
Well, that's awesome. So it's appropriate then that you are on this episode because your first experience was with Halo.
Oh, yeah.
And I know both of you guys, Luke and Q, you guys, when I think of Halo, you guys both come to mind. Q, I know we've talked about Halo in the past a lot in our Discord chats and in Twitter and stuff like that, how you have a long-lasting, relationship with the Chief. And not just the Chief, some of his Spartan buddies as well. So before we begin the conversation, kind of diving into the franchise, why don't you just kind of let the listeners and me, because I will be honest here, I like Halo a lot, but I think both Luke and Q have more knowledge on the Halo universe than I do. So, Q, let's start with you. What is your background? What do you know about the Halo universe as far as like what you've read, what you've experienced, what you've consumed?
Nathan, I know all the Halos and all the universes. And all the Chiefs. I know the Cortanas. Yeah, so once again, Halo for me began when I was honestly, probably late middle school, if not early high school. I mean, I'm trying to pinpoint quickly when Combat Evolved came out, but yeah. So for me, it was transitioning from like Halo 1 to Halo 2 to suddenly these novels start coming out: Fall of Reach, Harvest. I'm not getting the names. Contact Harvest, yeah. Ghost of Onyx, and I'm sure I'm missing a couple there. Yeah, I mean they're not in the tip of my tongue right now, but like so then like I read the novels through late middle school. There we go. I'm pinpointing it right. Late middle school. Yeah, and then Halo 3 comes out 2007, I want to say. And then at that point I was in college, and suddenly like it's like as I kept growing, Halo expanded from just a game to like
evolved.
Halo evolved. There you go. To like novels and graphic novels, and then we started getting action figures and stuff like that. And to me, it was cool because prior to that, video games were something that you played on your TV, and that once you stepped away from that TV, that's where it ended, right? Outside of your imagination, which, I've always had a very vivid imagination, but outside of my imagination, that's where it stopped, right? The moment you turn off the TV and you walked away, that was the end of it. And no video game rose to the magnitude of something like Star Wars, which is probably the only franchise that rivals my love for Halo. Star Wars is something that is everywhere, right? It's in novels, it's in graphic novels, it's in TV, movies, etc., cartoons. But then Halo, I feel like Halo was one of the first franchises that took that step beyond the screen, right? And today it's everywhere, right? Mm-hmm. Graphic novels are still being pumped out. Novels came out. There's a novel that came out just like 2 weeks ago, and Funko Pops. I was just talking to Lucas about Funko Pops, and it's just everywhere. And I feel like what I love about it is that there's this iconic figure, the Master Chief. He's this stoic hero that I think everyone really can connect with and has respect for. But at the same time, it's something that I can live. It's a story that I can live and be part of outside of just a screen, mm-hmm. which is pretty cool. Not every series gets that, and some series they start that, but then they fall. And Halo has found a way to keep that going beyond, for almost like, oh my God, 14 years, 15 mm-hmm. years. Yeah. So, yeah.
Well, 2001, so 17.
17. Yeah, I remember when the 15-year icon came out that you could put on your gamer tag. Mm-hmm. So, yeah, that's right. So it's more than that. Yeah, for sure.
So that's a very robust history. Luke, what is your background with Halo?
I fell in love with Halo beginning with Halo Reach. In fact, I was the opposite. I did not like Halo at all, specifically because it was Halo, because of my love for Gears of War. And they were so fundamentally different and yet existed on the same gaming system. And so in my mind, I had this rivalry with Halo players. And whenever people would jump around in Gears, I'd be like, go play Halo. This isn't the place for that. And it wasn't until Halo Reach where it's so funny because in the games industry and in our lives, like something connects with us for usually timing reasons, funny reasons. Like we suddenly have it, like Q's story about he grew up with it. He grew with it. It evolved while he did. That's, I think, where we find our strongest connections with games. For me, Halo Reach hit at the right time. And because it wasn't Chief and there wasn't an established canon, I was able to get into it. And then it became Halo Wars, and then playing as Halo Reach's online evolved. And then I went back and started playing Halo 3 and then ODST. And then I did play 1 a little bit, but I hated 1 because you couldn't sprint. And that makes a lot of purists very upset, which is fun to listen to and watch them.
But you get a very spirited walk, though.
Yeah, it is a spirited walk. Why would a Spartan, an elite soldier, not run a little faster when he's being shot at? But it was neat because the Halo Reach opened the door for me, and then going backwards and forwards, I was able to evolve and change with it. And now it's a keepsake in my heart. Books, novels, posters, pop figures. It's just like you. It's cool.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I like your shirt. And is that wall scroll on your wall also the Chief? I can't tell.
Oh, yes. This is Master Chief over there, and then I have a whole bunch of Halo Legendary frames.
Man, that's awesome.
Crates. Halo Reach scroll and Halo 5 over there, and tons of walls with shelves with too many collectibles and books. And my classroom, dude, Ooh, it's got a lot.
Halo in the classroom.
Oh yeah.
Your shirt, Luke, is making me want to play some CTF too. Just so you know.
Oh yeah. For any podcast listeners or audio listeners, it's
so cool.
Warthog with Capture the Flag, red Spartans on it, which then they're carrying a flag.
Red versus blue, baby.
Yeah, it's cool.
Mm-hmm.
So that, ladies and gentlemen, is just a reason to come join us as we record this live, so you can hop in the chat and see the visuals.
Yeah,
like Luke is showing off right now. So my introduction and my background with Halo, like I said, is not as robust as your guys's. I first got introduced to it by the console on the Xbox. A friend gave me this huge, massive Duke controller and said, "Hey, let's play this." And I'm like, "This controller is massive for one thing." And then the other thing was, this is a first-person shooter. How do I even do this, right? Mm-hmm. So them being able to master the presentation of the first-person shooter on the console was really impressive at that time. And to me, is still part of the reason why I believe that Xbox's identity is ingrained in that first-person shooter genre. Because the controllers were designed with triggers. Like if you look at PlayStation controllers and the Nintendo controllers, they kind of mimicked it a little bit. The Nintendo did, but PlayStation still like just the buttons. But the controllers were really built for that shooter kind of genre, and right. I believe that's kind of ingrained in that still to this day with those controllers. But Halo was great. It was fun. I played the System Link parties, as Q mentioned, with all the cables going everywhere. We all played into a Switch, and we were doing multiple games. Halo 2 comes out, and there was a lot of LAN parties there because Xbox Live was, the thing at the point, and it was just really fun to play online. Now you're playing Capture the Flag. You're driving Warthogs around with complete strangers around the world, and it's so fun because before you had to go do it. You had to take your Xbox and possibly a TV over to your friend's house and go through the whole ordeal of setting something up, which was fun. And then you hear people yell in the background. It's like, "Oh no, come on!" When they get hit. So it was fun when Xbox Live came out to really experience that. And then that's kind of when I got a little more into it, was Halo 2, because just that experience, that communal experience, was fantastic for me. That was the first online community that I really enjoyed and I played with. And then, we get to Halo 3 and all those other ones that come out. And that's, I think, about the time where we got the expanded universe stuff. So we had some books, we had the comics that came out around that time. And I started to get a little bit more dabbling into that. And I don't remember if there was a book called Reach, like The Fall of Reach. That was a book, right?
Fall of Reach. Yep, that was a real book.
Okay. Yeah. So I remember reading that book, and then I think that's one of 2 books that came out around the same time, but before Reach came out. And so I was super excited when I heard that the next game was going to be about Reach. So anyway, that's kind of the extent of my EU knowledge. I had the comic book and that they introduced around that time as well, and also, neither of them are very good, but I've enjoyed both of the live action TV shows to some extent, as well as the Halo Legends anime series that they did was pretty fun. So, as far as that goes, my knowledge of the game outside of the actual franchise, the numerated games, isn't as great. I've played Halo Wars, but I have not yet played Halo Wars 2. I own it, but I just haven't gotten there yet. But it's fun. ODST, by the way, is probably one of my favorite of the Halos, even though it doesn't feature the Chief. That's just a really fun game. Yeah.
Interesting.
We'll get there, I guess, when we get there. But let's start off with our just overall thoughts on Halo 1 and what it is about Halo 1 that we remember. So, Luke, what do you got?
I think Halo Combat Evolved does not age well. I think it's a bad game. Even the anniversary. Now, that's with the context of 2018 looking at it. For its time, at the time, what a revolutionary, awesome display of tech, awesome display of ideas, and really putting into practice. And it was because it was on consoles that it was popular. Quake was all the rage back at that time. And so for me, it makes me very happy that Halo found its audience and found its time, because it's evolved into something that really was pure trend setting at its peak, and is now wavering a bit, and kind of perhaps lost its way, perhaps not. It depends on who you ask. And that's because they're facing the Star Wars problem. It got really big, it got an expanded universe, and now it's trying to appeal to multiple generations and different types of fans, because it's expanded into Halo Reach was very different than Halo 1 and Halo Wars and the EU and stuff like that. But yeah, bottom line, I don't like Combat Evolved. I'm so sorry.
Oh, it's okay. I mean, we'll let it pass for now. But Q, what was your thought about Combat Evolved? What stands out to you?
For me, I mean, at the time, it was a revolutionary game. I mean, like I said, like the first time I was introduced to an Xbox that I could actually hold the controller and play it was Combat Evolved. My cousin coming in and plugging in. I remember watching him play it. I think one of the first missions that I saw from beginning to end was that final mission of Combat Evolved, when you're riding in the Warhog and you're trying to escape the ship as it's exploding, and you're trying to get out of there. And for me, that whole sequence of that mission was very powerful. I'm like, this is a video game. This is incredible. Like, prior to that, the most immersive game I've played, honestly, had been probably GoldenEye. Like, the missions in GoldenEye were very exciting to me. And to me, like, nothing really came close to that, even though the GameCube, that generation of games, had very good games. But for me, just the immersiveness of the missions, to me, the ability to be dropped into the Halo ring, and suddenly, you do have missions that you have to, objectives you have to get to, but the idea, the ability to wander around and to engage the enemy in any way you wanted to, whether it was going up close or shooting at them from far away, the how efficient the mechanics, the twin joysticks and twin trigger system was. I mean, all of that stuff worked really well, and it was just a masterpiece at the time. And to be honest, even though, maybe graphically it has aged, I think at the end of the day, the mechanics of the gameplay are rock solid. There are games that you go back to and you try to play them, and they feel like janky. They feel like there's like a lag almost in real time. And Combat Evolved doesn't have that feeling. You can go back and play it right now on your 360 or the Master Chief Collection, and it feels really good because the mechanics, it was very well done when it was built. So,
yeah. So for me, with Combat Evolved, what I remember most is co-op.
Yeah,
I mean, so there obviously the competitive stuff was really fun, but for me, co-op was really the thing, because I've always really enjoyed co-op games. And when I played through that game with my friends, and we just kind of were able to go back and forth with, oh, you're the one that's causing us to lose, or you're the one that's causing us to lose, or, having those legendary missions and just being mad when the other person dies. It was really fun because to that point, I don't recall playing, at least personally, a game that had a cooperative nature like that. where you were going through the story like this, and it was a compelling story. And granted, Luke, there was no sprint, but there was a pretty cool checkpoint system that was introduced. That you would hope that you got to that checkpoint, like you get to a hard level or a hard spot, and you're just like, come on, give me that checkpoint before you go in to take the next room.
Especially in the library.
Yeah, especially in the library. Oh God, I hate the library.
It's the worst.
But like the first time that we saw the flood, that level is there. It's just like that eerie thing. You're in the outside swamp. You get down below, and you're uncovering what happened, and then all of a sudden you experience them. That was just really well done. And when you're doing that with a buddy at 2 a.m, and then all of a sudden you're like, "What is going on?" Like, it's just the memories and the experience are so fun, and so it stays with you because like it's bringing back fond memories of that time. And we always played, the adversarial mode, the verses, but that co-op, man, for me in Halo Evolved, or Combat Evolved, that's where it was at. Because I thought it was just the best, the pinnacle of what I could expect for a first-person shooter. So Halo 1 obviously was a success, right? It was hailed as the killer app, which was for the Xbox, that was said, this is the reason to own an Xbox. And it did, I believe, sell Xboxes and cemented itself as a franchise and the Xbox as a viable platform. And I believe Combat Evolved itself has sold 65 million copies worldwide. Wow. No, I'm sorry. That is not Halo Evolved itself. The games as a total, so all the Halo games have sold 65 million copies worldwide. So that's a pretty impressive number. All starting from this group. It was Bungie that created the first game in 2001.
Bungie? I don't know.
This is history now. This is fact. This was history.
Old Bungie was pretty special, man.
It was. I mean, I believe before this, the only game that they created similar to this was Marathon, which they referenced heavily in the Halo franchises. But they really kind of perfected that on first-person shooter with a controller, just kind of made it feel good in Halo 2. When we get to Halo 2, we have a little bit more verticality, a little bit more runability. I don't think there was sprinting yet in Halo 2. Am I correct, Luke?
No sprinting.
No sprinting.
So.
No sprinting.
The level design was way better in Halo 2. Because in Halo 1, if nostalgia doesn't drive you, I think a lot of younger players would be at a loss for where to go and how to move and where to be because of the level design. It just doesn't match modern specs. But Halo 2, I thought, vastly improved its level design and it funneled the player in a more constructive way, I thought.
You're talking about campaign, or you're talking about what are you talking about?
I'm talking about campaign. Yes, I'm sorry. I should be clear. I'm talking about campaign because in Combat Evolved's campaign, I often struggled, and maybe this was me personally, but I often struggled with like getting lost in the bowels of ships or in the hallways and corridors, which one to go down because they looked so similar. And I thought in Halo 2, despite being on the same tech, still being on an Xbox, it's very much an evidence of, okay, we perfected our craft that we started in Halo 1. We perfected it in Halo 2.
That's interesting that you point that out because a lot of people, including myself, we thought that the campaigns in 2 and 3 were a degrade from Combat Evolved.
I would go the exact opposite of that, but that might be because I entered the franchise at Halo Reach.
Right.
I did not. If I were to rank my Halo games, Reach 4 and 5 are all above 3, 2, and 1, which is probably because I was introduced at a different time and through a different design idea.
So with Halo 2, Q, when you think about that, what is it that stands out most to you?
I guess from the get-go, what the most vivid memories I have of Halo 2 is the impact of Xbox Live. And how suddenly, we still actually, me and my friends and I, we still got together and we did LAN parties because we all, especially in high school, we all lived in the same town, so we could all gather and do that. And we could hang out, eat together, drive to the Wendy's at 1 a.m. or 11 p.m. at night, grab a bunch of like big, junior bacon cheeseburgers, This podcast is brought to you by Wendy's, by the way. I'm just kidding.
Wendy's.
And then run back to our place and keep playing more Halo 2. However, honestly, Halo 2 introduced Xbox Live, which meant that even when I was home late at night or whatever, I could still jump on Xbox Live and still play with people, even if it wasn't as exciting to me at the time, because it was a very early version of Xbox Live, as the local area network gaming. And I guess touching base on the campaign, even though I felt the cutscenes and the story building were better in Halo 2, I felt that Halo 2 basically went from a Halo Combat Evolved experience where you were in an open map area and you had objectives to get to in that map, to more of the funnel version of shooter campaigns that we honestly we are now familiar with. And the most bastardized version of it is Call of Duty. At the end of the day, like the idea that you literally have like this 15 feet to go between, and the mission is like one big funnel that goes from point A to point B. And I think even though Halo 2 wasn't as bad as that, because Call of Duty is awful at it, Halo 2 did begin that transition to that tunnel shooter, kind of like shooting gallery kind of thing. And I mean, I have diehard Halo friends, Halo fans that are my friends, that they'll tell you, I love Halo 2, except that it began this campaign trend of limiting the ability of you as a player to explore what were beautiful maps. Because like the map designs for Halo have always been beautiful, but by putting you in this shooting gallery, in this funnel of death, it limits your ability to explore the map and to really, really explore everything that Halo is known for, which is these amazing universes, these amazing settings that they put you in. So
really big and impressive set pieces too. Like
for sure,
design
and music.
Yes,
they nailed music from guitar riffs to symphony. Marty O'Donnell did something special, because I'm trying to think. There was a podcast recently that talked about completion, the endings of games, and there is no cooler way to end a game than driving in a warthog off of a collapsing Halo in Halo 3 to fight to your absolute death in Halo Reach. And don't shout spoilers at me. It's over 10 years old. But like, what I mean? Those are climactic moments brought to you by sound and visual aesthetics merging together. I think that's something that Halo really brought to us and actually informed Call of Duty at, because if we remember Modern Warfare 4, Call of Duty 4, Modern Warfare, Call of Duty 4 was absolutely wonderful. It was a wonderful campaign for set piece and cinematic, and unfortunately it went down a way that kind of brought us where we are now, which is very polarizing. But music and as visual aesthetics and gameplay all merged with that, and I think they took the best parts of Halo in that, and a lot of games have done that as well.
And going on the music point, there's some documentaries. I think there was one that came out recently in the last couple of years about the development of Halo 2. There were tons and tons of musicians and pop stars that wanted to have a piece in Halo 2. Like, I think even, what's his name? John Mayer has like a guitar solo in it that he's not credited for, because he didn't want to get credited for, but he was already a Halo fan. So he wanted to do this guitar solo for it, but he didn't want to be put in the credits because he felt like he shouldn't be in the credits, even though he wanted like a piece of his music to be in the game forever. And that crazy band piece, there's this moment near the end of the game where you go into a big hall and the elites and the brutes are fighting each other. And it goes into like the only rock song that has ever been used in a Halo game. I forget the band's name. But anyway, so yeah, the music for Halo 2 Halo 2 probably had way better music than Halo 1. And you're right. Music was perfect in Halo 2.
I mean, it evolved from game to game across the whole franchise in different ways. I thought that was neat.
That the music that you talked about too, like you mentioned the use of the Halo theme right from the first time that we turned on the first Halo, that monk chant. It was just so iconic instantly in gaming as a whole. Like when you heard that chant somewhere, let's say you're in a college dorm or something like that, you're like, where's Halo? Where is it now?
Right.
Because it's about to go down, right?
Mm-hmm.
But it was so good as far as that use. To me, I agree with you guys as far as Halo 2, what the impact is, like the Xbox Live, that music with the storytelling and just being that step up, that evolution, if you will, from the first Halo. But the thing that stands out to me the most about Halo 2, outside of the online play and the other storytelling aspects, is the fact that you didn't finish the fight. And I know that has been infamously a point of contention, or with people who were like me and my buddy who were playing through the co-op campaign, and we got to the end and we were like, that's it?
Yeah.
I mean, it's such a cliffhanger because he's going to go finish the fight. Let's do it. And then the credits roll, and you're jacked right there because you really want to continue on because you just jumped out of a ship, right? I mean, he's going to go. He's going to go take care of some stuff, and you want to
Let's finish this fight.
Yeah, exactly. So the fact that it just kind of ends there and just left you wanting more, and we know that because of history and with Bungie's admission, that wasn't where the game was supposed to end. They were under some issues with trying to get the thing put out on time, and they just had to break it there. That's one of the things that stands out to me, because I'm more of the story guy. I've never been the multiplayer guy. With me, it's always been the story that draws me into a game, and then the multiplayer is a nice little add-on that I might check out if it's cool enough. But by the way, Q, the song that you were referencing, I believe was either Incubus or Hoobastank.
No, it was. I think the Breaking Benjamin. Yeah, it was Blow Me. I know the song was called Blow Me Away. It was definitely Breaking Benjamin. Okay, but I'm pretty sure the other two bands, Incubus and Hoobastank, they still had pieces in the soundtrack.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah.
A couple of the cool things about Halo 2, by the way, for its release, it had a $5 extra version that gave you a nifty little steelbook, which I had.
I have it too.
And I traded it in at one point because I'm dumb and I didn't keep it. I've regretted that decision ever since then. I can't remember, did it include anything else except the steelbook?
I don't know if the original. So I only have the steelbook version. I don't own the regular one. I know that it came with a very thick, probably one of the last booklets included in video game cases. It was a thick, 70-page booklet. Written in the entire booklet was it was like a gamer's manual basically, but it was written in a narrative form from the perspective of an elite commander, talking about how the humans are a pain in the butt to fight. So it would break down all the weapons for you and all the vehicles for you and all the controls. So it was kind of cool because it was you getting briefed on how to play the game, but from the perspective of the Covenant, trying to tell their soldiers, hey, these are all the things that the humans have that are fighting us with. So I don't know if that was in the original version, but that was definitely in the Steelbook version.
That's cool. See, I miss little innovations like that. They're like little subtle nods to the universe that you're in and everything. In addition to probably telling you the stuff that an instruction book would. So that's pretty cool. I like that.
Yeah.
The other thing about Halo 2, which I thought was interesting, was so this was still on the original Xbox, and this game had DLC. And to get that DLC, you would go out to Best Buy or your local video game store and get a disc. And put it in there. I can't remember the title of it. Yeah, what? Do you remember the title of the expansion pack there?
Dude, that escapes me. Yeah, I mean, I can. Yeah, I don't know, man.
That was before my time.
I even forgot that came through disc. To be honest, I forgot that. Yeah, that's true.
The two maps were the Blastacular map pack.
Okay,
I believe.
Well, it's funny. I like that you brought up DLC, Nathan, because to me, I started learning map names playing Halo 2 more than Halo 1. I played a lot of Halo 1 multiplayer. I don't remember. You have to. Someone has to tell me the name to the map and be like, "Oh yes, I know what map that is." But I won't remember the map name on my own.
Right.
Halo 2 was the first, and probably Halo is the only series, I think, outside of Rainbow Six Siege, where I'm actually learning map names, and I'm taking time, and I took time with Halo, the entire Halo series, to learn how to tactically dominate maps. and like lockout. I can tell you today what I would do if you drop me into lockout. I know exactly where I'm going. I know where the weapons are. I can tell you what corner of the map I'm going to dominate first, and if I get pushed out of that corner, where I'm going second to try to fight back to get to my first position. Like me and my friends, we locked down how to play certain maps on Halo 2 because the maps became so iconic. Lockout was probably one of my favorite maps of all time. Mm-hmm. So, yeah.
Yeah, like you mentioned with those map names, that's one of the things that I also started remembering. But I think I started remembering them more towards Halo 3 because obviously that was more maps. That was the Xbox 360, and then that was the more focus, I believe, was placed on that with the Xbox Live built into it, right, on those aspects. So let's talk about Halo 3 a little bit. Luke, what do you recall about Halo 3? I know you weren't yet introduced to the saga yet, but what do you recall from looking back?
I think my fondest memories begin with its ending. I think that ending is just absolutely incredible. What a climactic way to end your game. Pure action movie ending, but it had soul to it for some reason. I think that, again, it goes back to the score. But what I remember most, separate from that and separate from like a cinematic standpoint, was the visual aesthetic, because this was, if memory serves, this was on the Xbox 360. And there were these lush greens because you came through the atmosphere, you landed in the jungle, and Johnson woke you up, unlocked your armor, and then you were like, all right, I can do this. And you got your weapon, and you started moving through a forest, and you saw water and sky and tons of lush greenery. And it was gorgeous and beautiful, and yet distinctly different from the gorgeous destruction of Gears of War. And that, to me, was a wonderful moment, because as a player who entered in during the 360 time, Gears of War was defining the Xbox 360. Mm-hmm. Halo was defining the Xbox original. And so to see Halo aesthetically very different and play and feel very different, but still be wonderful and beautiful, was a very good feeling as a gamer at that time. Because I was like, oh, that means there are special things in this console that exist outside of one specific genre.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, I remember what you're talking about there, where he's in like the armor lock, right? And he's fallen down, and you see him actually fall, and then the Marines come in and look at him. And that's a really cool scene, a good way to enter the game, I believe.
Mm-hmm. And it gives new players this wonder, because Master Chief, if you know none of the lore, he looks like a robot. Mm-hmm. He does. He stands 8 feet tall. He's super huge. He's wearing this power armor. And he uses very mechanical movements by way of how the armor works within the lore. Mm-hmm. So it reminded us that he's human. There's a person inside of that. And they told players that, because we never see Chief's face, except for his eyes at one point in the extended scene. But
what? I'm just kidding.
Yes, but you know what I mean? Like it told players right away, narratively, there's a human in here, or there is a living sentient being here. It's not a robot. Mm-hmm. And so I liked that. I thought that was cool.
Yeah. Q, what do you recall about Halo 3 that jumps out to you?
I remember when Halo 3 came out, I was in college, and it was bittersweet, honestly, because for a while I thought that was the last Halo we were going to get. And I guess now, knowing the industry a little bit better, and knowing that corporations want as much money out of us as they can get, I should have known better. I should have known that was not the last Halo. But for a while, I thought that was it. I thought, like, man, like this is it. Like, this is the last Halo. This is the end of the trilogy. But yeah, I thought, honestly, a lot of people in the Halo community consider Halo 3 to be the best multiplayer up on even today. Because in many ways it perfected. We're talking still this is pre-sprint mode, right? There's no sprint mode. There's no jetpack. There's no armor abilities. There's no Spartan super
ground pound.
Yeah. This is pre all that stuff. People thought Halo 3 was the perfected version of Combat Evolved multiplayer.
Because there were no perks, and that was the coolest part. Am I right? Am I summarizing that?
Yeah, it was a pure it was a pure FPS, right? It was like like in its purest form, and mechanically it worked really well. Everything about it worked really well. You can even today, like I still go on Halo 3 custom matches on Master Chief Collection, and it just feels really good. It feels like a great form of Halo 1. The campaign was amazing. The story was amazing. It felt like it had closure. The soundtrack, once again, Marty O'Donnell knocked it out of the park. That should be a given. But once again, it feels bittersweet because I feel like I can't think of Halo 3 and not remember the fact that for a while I thought like, man, this is it. This is the last one we're gonna get.
Right.
But it was a great game, and I like the comparison that Luke does with Gears. Gears is this broken down, dark grayish green gray world, whereas Halo has these very colorful sceneries. Whether it's on Earth or on the Halo ring or in High Charity or whatever. It's a great game, and I think as big as I think that was probably Halo at its peak. Fan wise, I'm not talking about total. There's probably more Halo fans today total.
Talking about like fan mindshare.
I think mindshare is a good. Yeah, that's a great way of putting it. I think that's when Halo 3 was where Halo was at its peak of mindshare. It still dominated the market. It was still a force to be contended and feared. You didn't want to be. You didn't want to release with Halo because Halo was going to draw 500-person lines at every GameStop. That night, and that was intimidating. So
you mentioned those big long lines at GameStop for those midnight releases, and I remember that for me, those Halo midnight releases and like console launch midnight releases were just on a completely different realm than other ones that I went to. So like I had gone to midnight releases for a few different games, but the Halo ones were always the ones where you had the most guys show up. You'd have people come up with their consoles and they'd do little lands impromptu there, and they just have a good old time. It'd be on the news, people sitting outside for a new Halo game. And I believe it was Halo 3 that had the edition that had the helmet, right?
Yes. The infamous helmet that didn't fit.
The cat helmet.
So I remember we were all psyched to get that big box. We took it out of the box, and it was like the game and something else, a little booklet maybe, was inside the helmet. And then that was it. And there was no way it was going to go in your head. I know for a little while it was one of those things where it was just a meme. And it's just, you couldn't sell them after a while. You saw them sitting on shelves everywhere for like $10 maybe even towards the end of the run. But that was one of the times where I'm like, okay, maybe these limited editions aren't for me. But I do still probably have my Halo helmet somewhere. I just don't know where it is right now.
If I could find one for a reasonable price, I would get it. Because that's how I ended up with the Reach and the Halo 5 statues, was after the fact when the price had come down and whatnot. And I could pull them off eBay. I have not actually looked for a helmet. I wonder if they are cheap.
I'm sure they are. I mean, they were going for peanuts like back in the day when people were just trying to get them off the store shelves. So thinking about Halo 3 as well, obviously this was the first one for the 360, so it had the best online at the time. People were a lot more into it. I remember playing hours and hours and hours of the online because it was just so fun. There were so many people supporting it. I think at the time it probably carried the highest user base at any given time in Xbox history for sure. Probably not PC history, but I think it was pretty close to rivaling some of those games. It was just a fun communal experience that was, at that time, again, just so unlike anything else. It was
new for a video game to touch people in an emotional sense, and it's a lot like the MCU. It surprised everybody that they could experience this range of emotions in a medium that previously hadn't really done that. Nobody thought superhero films could do that, and then the MCU started doing that. The Dark Knight trilogy did that, but this was all new because games aren't supposed to be cool. They're supposed to be for nerds. Games aren't supposed to make you feel. That's supposed to be in movies, and it started kind of expanding and making games reach audiences that it hadn't prior. And it was a cultural zeitgeist shift, and it started transitioning. And then Call of Duty took that moniker deservedly at the time. And then now I think we could probably lament some of that. But at the time, it was impressive that they did that. And it started a change in gaming that I think is worth pointing out, because Halo was so important at the time.
Mm-hmm. And I like that. Yeah, y'all pointed out, like, just I think, Nathan, you mentioned the Xbox Live at it began to look more like what it is today, right? Like, I would come home from class in college and go to my dorm, and I would just turn on my Xbox 360, and it became like a part of my life. Like turning on my Xbox when I got home, it became, because I could use it not just for gaming, but for a lot of things, right? Including playing movies or whatever. So, but it's like, hey, let me go home and let me see if people want to play some Halo 3, or play some Gears. And so not only Halo 3, and I'm going to throw in Gears in there as great games, but also on the platform of the Xbox Live, which was already beginning to be this great platform to play multiplayer online. Mm-hmm. So I no longer had to walk, a mile to my buddy's dorm room. I could just be like, hey man, are you home? Are you home from class? Let's play some Slayer,
Right.
Yeah. I mean, just that, the amount of people that had the 360 and the amount of people that were on Xbox Live at that point just made it so no matter when you wanted to play, no matter what time of day, there were always people playing, which was really cool. And again, we get into Halo 3's expansion, which was ODST, which is a standalone expansion. So you could just buy this disc and put it in and play it. And that was the ODST troopers, or the Orbital Drop Shock troopers. So you weren't Master Chief. You were just guys. And you were kind of going in this non-linear story, trying to figure out what happened. And this is a prequel to Halo 3, if I remember right. And it was just like a very somber story. Like, there was that saxophone music that was that was in there. And I mean, it was so different from what you had to do in Halo. And you weren't Master Chief, so you couldn't just go up to some hunters and smack them down and be like, what up? No, you were like scared of them in this game, right?
And
so,
I think I'm sorry, may I cut you off?
Yeah, go ahead.
One of the coolest things about the ODSTs is they, in human lore at the time, they were supposed to be these badasses. They're the hell jumpers. They came out and they put the colonies under. They put them in line. They dropped out of orbit, and they just jumped out, and they were the tough ones. And then suddenly they weren't good enough, and that was the coolest thing, because suddenly you have these super awesome, like, special forces who just couldn't hack it. And then you're forced into this realm. It takes place during Halo 2, I think, during the Battle of New Mombasa.
Yeah.
I think. Yeah.
That's right.
So, and then you got this AI that's leading you, but it's actually not an AI, but it is. And, like, there's a whole bunch of stuff there for super nerds.
Virgil.
Yeah. And, like, and named after, the Dante's Inferno poet that guides, Dante down through hell, which is this cool thing. And you have these ODSTs who just aren't Spartans, and it tells you through the whole game, it reminds you how awesome Spartans are. And that is a cool thing, because they gave you a super fun game to play, but they reminded you the whole time that, oh, there's something special when Master Chief does it. That's cool.
Yeah. Another thing that was introduced into the Halo franchise with ODST, and I think this was after Gears of War, was Firefight. So it was kind of that horde mode that they introduced here with this game. So being more of a Gears fan, Luke, did you ever play Firefight, and what's your take?
Firefight's awesome. Any wave-based mode in any game where you can just fight AI enemies in co-op, I think is good. Because it gives you a chance to play the game outside of a campaign and just play mindlessly. But I played Firefight not in Halo 3 or ODST, because I think they let the ODST version also be in 3. Like, if you had the disc or something, there was some crossover there, and Q might be able to correct me there. But I thought in Firefight in Reach was incredible and super fun. And it allowed for replayability for those who didn't necessarily want to compete. And I think that's a great benefit, because some people just don't want to stress out trying to beat the best player, the best kid online, but they do want to play with their friends online. And firefight, horde, what have you. Those are cool ways to do it.
Yeah, and for me, again, being a campaign co-op kind of guy, the firefight mode was my favorite mode. I really enjoyed that because you were playing with your buddies and you were working together towards a goal, which I've always enjoyed those type of modes. And I believe, Q, you're a big Destiny guy. This feels to me like the roots of Destiny.
What's that?
Q is emotion.
I'm sorry.
He's
sorry,
getting defensive and emotional over here. He's beginning to cry. He's getting in a corner, starting to huddle.
Jaded, party of every Destiny fan. Jaded.
But you have to admit,
question? Yeah, what was your question?
You have to admit the firefight mode here, we kind of see it perfected in a way. In the original Destiny, wouldn't you say?
Perfected or overkilled? Like
a little bit of both.
A little bit of both, right? Because firefight as a concept is great. It's a great concept. My issue with firefight as it's used today in gaming and in campaigns, especially in shooter campaigns, is hey, let's what mechanic do we use for this part of the camp mission? Let's just throw in a horde mode or a firefight, and then 2 missions later. You know what would be really good in this mission? A firefight. And and after, like, before the boss, you know what would be great before fighting the boss? A firefight. And you can call it whatever. You can be like control the point. You can be like fight back enemy waves, guardian, or whatever. You can call it whatever you want. Everyone knows when they see it. It's a firefight or a horde mode. And at some point, I love it when it's done well and when the story leads to it. Right, like in many, I don't know, the last mission in ODST, the last mission in the game, in the campaign, is a firefight. Mm-hmm. You're fighting all these waves of brutes that are attacking you, and it's a great firefight because it's leading the campaign. You've been driving down the highway with this tank.
Highway, yes.
And it's like the campaign leads you to that firefight, and you're like, oh my god, this is a great firefight. But I feel like the Destiny, it's perfected. And I'm okay with that. It's perfected in the sense that it's done really well, but it's also in its perfection, it's also overdone. And I think that's also the fall of a firefight to the point where it's like, well, when it becomes an excuse for not coming up with more creative shooter scenarios, right? Every other mission in Destiny comes down to a firefight. Mm-hmm. And it's like, okay, I enjoy this, but it's every other mission.
Yeah.
But just to
protect the ghost while you have a firefight.
Right. It's like, hey, he's downloading files, firefight, just to touch base on ODST. If I wasn't a diehard Master Chief fan, I would say ODST is my favorite Halo game of all time. Mm-hmm. I'm not going to say that though. And I didn't say that, and I will not be quoted on that, and I'll deny everything because I'm a Master Chief fan. But what I loved about ODST is the fact that it took me back to that Combat Evolve campaign mode. There's an open city. Mm-hmm. I can go anywhere in the city. I'm running into these enemy patrols that are randomized. They show up in the phantom ships and they get dropped off, and I'm engaged. And yes, there's an objective. There's a mission that I need to get to, right, to complete the game. But otherwise, I can roam as much as I want, mm-hmm. and I can explore the setting. And with this amazing jazz soundtrack that is playing behind me. I mean, to me, I would I would play another ODST game mm-hmm. because I think that game was perfection for what it was. It's not going to be a Master Chief game, but it was a great game for what it was. It was amazing. It was emotional. It was epic. It was inspiring, and it made you not rush in with rocket launchers. It made you want to pull back and be like, let me find a way to avoid using this silence SMG. Let me find any other weapon. I would rather punch them to death before using this SMG. But yeah, so it was a great game, honestly. Like I play ODST at least once a year, the campaign, because I'm very emotionally attached to it. And actually, that game came out when I got back home from basic training at Fort Benning, Georgia. So it was like for me, like going into the Army was a very emotional experience. So having that game be the first Halo game that I played when I got back, there's a lot of really fond memories attached to that game when it came out. So yeah, it was a great game and probably doesn't get enough credit. So
just a note on some of the cast of characters in that campaign. Dutch, Adam Baldwin, Romeo, Nolan North, Mickey, Alan Tudyk,
dude,
and then Buck, Nathan Fillion.
Nathan Fillion.
Basically, the crew of the Serenity, right?
Pretty much.
And Buck, by the way, has 2 books specifically about him now. One of them leads into why he became a Spartan in Halo 5, and the other one's sitting on my shelf that I read as soon as I finish the one I'm reading right now.
Bad Blood, right? That's the new one. Yeah.
Bad Blood's the newest one, and the first one is New Blood. Just to mess us up while we're talking about it.
And if I may add to this amazing cast that makes up ODST, the writer is Joseph Staten, who is one of those mysterious figures at Bungie, who is a diehard Halo fan, but in the end, he was a writer in the Destiny story. But guess who quits Bungie? Joseph Staten was a writer for the Destiny game.
What Destiny story, though?
Oh, good call. Yeah, good question.
I felt like I had to get that jab in there because you said Destiny story, and I'm like, I played a lot of Destiny. I don't think that
Joseph Staten quit Bungie a year into Destiny development.
Why do you think that is? Why would the story writer?
Which is crazy, right? Because when we think of ODST, we think of this very powerful campaign, right? This squad of grunts trying to accomplish the mission, right? Finish the mission. We're not super soldiers, but we're professionals. We're gonna get the job done, and it's a very powerful story. And then you're like, oh my god, the same guy is writing the Destiny story. Oh no, he just quit. You know, so it's one of those anachronistic moments of what would have happened if Joseph Staten had stayed or had been allowed to keep working on Destiny. Joseph Staten.
We should, if I could jump in, the coolest thing about that is in the original Halo ODST, but no longer, you saw posters that alluded to the story of Destiny, and they had to change them. Phil Spencer even talked about it, but you have to think that the writers that abandoned the original Destiny story, they left because their vision wasn't being fulfilled, a vision they'd had since before ODST was completed.
Absolutely. Cool. Yeah, this is kind of like Halo insider now, inside baseball, but after Halo 3, and Nathan, I'm gonna totally tangent here. After Halo 3, you see Bungie establishes 2 development teams. One has a goal of releasing a very quick to be released game, which becomes Halo 3 ODST. That team is led by Joseph Staten. You have another team that is given a 3-year cycle of development. That team is Halo Reach. And then once those 2 products are completed, both of those teams were supposed to join together the super secret project, which is Destiny. So already after Halo 3, the roots of Destiny are being laid down, and as Halo 3 ODST and Halo Reach are being developed by 2 separate teams at Bungie.
And it all worked out real well for everybody.
This brings us to Bungie's final reach at the Halo series, and that is Halo Reach. So, Luke, this is where...
That was a transition.
This is where you were introduced to the series. So tell us about your recollection of Halo Reach.
Oh, man. For me, Halo Reach was awesome because it told one big story with a cast of characters by way of vignettes. And not in the sense that you might think Battlefield 1 vignettes, where they're completely separate, but you had a mission where you were filling in for somebody else who'd done something heroic, the previous Noble 6, and you came into Noble Team pre-established. These 5 were awesome, and their 6th member was gone. He did something great, which for fun, you can go watch the trailer or the commercials for it, and it actually shows you how Noble 6 died prior to the new Noble 6, which is you, the player, coming in. But it's neat because you go in, you meet this super cool cast. They have a leader who's Carter. He's so cool. And you go on this mission together. You find out, oh, snap. The Covenant is here on Reach. This is a forward squad that's reconning the base, and you engage with them, and you see these Spartan 3s who are not supposed to exist within the lore without Halsey's permission, and you're in this badass group with super cool armor, and everyone's got unique armor. You're not like the Spartan 2s where you all have mostly the same armor. It looks mostly the same. And it introduces you to this, and then you go level by level. You go off with each one of the members of the team. You have a sniper mission with June. You have a mission where you, oh my gosh, Q, you might have to help me out on a little bit of it. But bottom line is you go off and you do these secular missions. You even fly a spaceship. You fly a Saber in space to take down a Covenant warship. You go off your ship into a Covenant warship, go back onto your Saber. It's next level stuff that we all thought would end up in Destiny, truth be told, because it was it made perfect sense. But it was just so cool. And then your final task is to get this one last ship off the planet. And that ship is, I believe, Fort Unto Dawn. Is that the one?
Yeah, that's the ship. Mm-hmm.
And you can look right and you can see Master Chief, even though it makes no sense in the canon. But it's cool.
I'm sorry. The Pillar of Autumn. My bad.
Pillar of Autumn. Right. Thank you very much. But it's just so cool because you do all these new things that Halo hadn't done before. And for someone like me to get in there, and I don't have to worry about knowing Halo 3. I don't have to worry about knowing Halos 1 and 2. I don't have to worry about sprinting. As someone who's played Call of Duty and Gears of War, I'm used to running fast under fire. It was there for a new generation of Halo fan, but it didn't abandon the old. I did not feel that it did. But that's why I loved Reach so much. It was just special.
Mm-hmm. So for me with Reach, the story was so impactful. The whole missions, like you said, Luke, just getting from the start to the end, and what with, it's what, 8 years. There's spoilers, right? We can talk about spoilers without having to.
Yeah.
The whole team dies, and this is.
Well, actually, that's not true, but okay.
June lived.
June it lives. He's Halsey's bodyguard,
and he ends up recruiting Spartan Force.
He recruits Buck as into a Spartan Force. Yeah,
and Palmer, I think, in a separate story. But you have to check me on that one.
Sorry, Nathan,
but either way,
most
June's
of the team
dope.
Yeah, the lore gods demanded justice. So
yeah. So it was a really cool story that just culminates in into this fantastic ending. Which the one thing that always kind of bugs me about that story, though, about the way it started ending, was I believe it was the girl with the robotic arm,
Cat.
She gets sniped, right?
In the head. Yeah.
And I'm just like, come on! This entire game, like we've been dodging these fires and everything else, and then all of a sudden you get sniped here.
I mean,
it just felt a little lackluster to me.
It caught us off guard the first time, and then you go back, it doesn't age well. But the first moment it happens, it's like, oh,
yeah,
what?
Yeah.
I mean, Halo Rogue One. I mean, sorry, Halo Reach. See what I did there? See what I did there?
I know, it was clever.
I mean, some people didn't like it because they're like, well, everyone's gonna die. I'm like, but that's what's beautiful about the story, though.
Mm-hmm.
It's like they're fighting this losing war, and yet they are. It's what makes Halo great. You're all, even Master Chief. He's always fighting a losing fight, and yet there's this determination to be like, I'm gonna do my job because it will help. Maybe, just maybe, it will help someone else win this fight. Yeah, and you see this team. They start out at the beginning. They don't even know the Covenant is on Reach yet. They're doing this mission, and that's what. Oh man, that build up to the Covenant showing up was so cool because you're like, it's the Covenant, but the characters. It's like you have this inside knowledge that the team doesn't do. It's like it's the Covenant, but they're like, oh, it's these rebels, the separatists, whatever. Yeah. Then you're like, oh no, it's the Covenant, and there's that scene where the elite jumps on top of you with the sword. And he's about to cut you open, but then George pushes him out of the way, and you're like, "Holy shit! Like, what's going on?" Anyway, so it was a really powerful campaign, and even as the heroes died, I felt like I got to know enough about each of the team members. I know Kat, I know Carter, George, June, and the guy with the skull face. I forgot his name. My favorite guy with a shotgun.
I know exactly what you're talking about. I'm looking at him, and I'm blanking on the name.
And I feel I'm ashamed because I used his armor in Halo 5. Anyway, I feel like the game did a good job getting me to know enough about each of them to feel like they were remembered. It's not like, because a lot of games they introduce a lot of characters and it's like, well, that was them and they all died. It's like, no, like I feel like each one had like a value in the team and they had like a different personality. And it was a very powerful game. And unfortunately, I don't have a lot of good things to say about the multiplayer. I have
SWAT was something special in that game.
Okay, I'll give you SWAT as something that came out of that game. But to me, like it tried a lot of stuff new at the same time. And I think that probably could have been phased in through a couple of games. It introduced all these armor abilities, right? And for a lot of people, armor lock, like if you use armor lock, you were, you could go burn in hell. It was first, sticking someone in Halo is not easy. But if you got good at it, it was like a satisfaction, like sticking someone with a plasma grenade. But they added this ability that absolutely negated the difficulty of sticking someone with a plasma grenade, because you could just go into armor lock and absorb the blast and just walk out of there and be like, what the crap is this? And sprinting is cool because now it's a default in games, and I get it. But at the time, it was like not everyone got to sprint. You could only sprint if you used that ability. And if you had it, you didn't have the jetpack, And I feel like it also introduced a lot of new weapons to Halo. Like it had a lot of weapons that now, because some of those weapons aren't even on Halo 5. Like some of the Covenant rifles were eliminated because they were so unpopular. People never used them. And I feel like it also got rid of the battle rifle and introduced the DMR, And I feel like it was cool for what it was, but I think it was a lot of new stuff at once. And it threw a lot of diehard Halo fans off. It's like, well, I don't know if I like this, because I was in the beta. I was in the beta for the Halo Reach multiplayer, and I went into play, and I was like, I don't know how I feel about these armor abilities, And
I think that's. Oh, go ahead.
No. And the final thing, it also added loadouts. The ability to change your loadouts, and I was like, it's like, well, then not everyone has an equal starting place. Which now
is distinctly not Halo.
Which now is assumed, right? Like if any game that you play nowadays, except for maybe Halo 5, you have a different loadout. But at the time, it was kind of like, well, like this is not Halo. Halo is about having an equal playing field, and then your skill sets you apart.
Right.
But if you start with a BR and I start with an SMG or something, then that's not an even game, So it had a lot of new things that, even though in the long run were not that big a deal, but at the time it was significantly different from what had been before. So
I think one of the things I think also stands out about Reach, with weaponry and whatnot, you had levels that demanded different types of weapons for good reason. It wasn't just random, but like you would go off and you would do objectives, and then you would get an orbital strike that you could use, but it was very timed and it made sense within the lore, and I liked that a lot. I also I liked that it had a lot of story to each one, and one of the things that I think depresses me most about Halo and Destiny both post Reach was they gave us so much promise for character development, because we, like you said, we knew that whole team. Each one of them had personality. This is what I thought the Guardians would be, the ones that we didn't fight, like the NPC Guardians. This is what I thought Blue Team was going to be in Halo 5, and we didn't actually get that in Halos 4 and 5, and then Destinies 1 and 2. I don't feel they fulfilled the promise that Reach offered us as far as characters and development and personality in characters. For better or worse, because all of those games I just mentioned, despite disappointing, are also very good games. They sold well, they did well, they are good, they have a good fan base. Like, you can't play Halo 4 and 5 and be like, oh, this is a bad game. No, it's not. It doesn't meet the expectations that maybe the franchise or the fans wanted them to be, but few things do. You don't get Empire Strikes Back every time you get a sequel, you know?
Mm-hmm.
You just don't. But Halo 5 is a good game. It's just not the game we were promised from marketing and from what we thought it would be. But that multiplayer is unrivaled. And Destiny is objectively good with mechanics and gameplay and loops and things like that. It's just no story. And Destiny 2, you can go around and Taken King and you do. But I just mean to say that it set a precedent that of growth and expectations that was too difficult to be met.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Talking about precedent with growth and expectations, the next new game that we were given was Halo 4. We're going to kind of skip over the Combat Evolved anniversary because it was just 343's first foray into it. But Halo 4 was the first all-new story for the Halo franchise after Reach, continuing where Halo 3 kind of left off. So since Reach was your first introduction, Luke, to the franchise, were you stoked for 4? Did you jump on it when it first came out?
Oh, yes. I was not working at what I would argue is a great job. I had left my career as teaching for a little bit, and I was going back. I was working at GameStop and whatnot. But I saved to get the best versions of Halo 4, and I absolutely loved Halo 4. For a lot of reasons. Now, there are plenty of things I was like, about, but I liked Spartan Ops a lot at the time, and then I was disappointed the more I played it. But I liked Spartan Ops. I loved the multiplayer, the vehicles I thought were well done in there with the maps and whatnot. But it was also, I think, personally, a time of life thing. I needed Halo 4, and so I could immerse myself into it, and I lost it. And Halo Reach began my Halo love, but during 4 was when I began reading into the EU and starting reading all the novels and whatnot. And I think 4 was Microsoft's relaunch of Halo, because a lot of people think of it. No, it wasn't. But no, 343 was built for this, and they needed Halo to be popular. And so they tried to relaunch it again, and it didn't work. But it was, I thought, a very good game. I enjoyed it.
Were you watching the Forward Unto Dawn series in vast anticipation of Halo 4?
Yes, I watched Forward Unto Dawn. I loved the cutscenes and the stories of Spartan Ops, which are actually quite good. If you go watch the cutscenes, they're quite good. The missions were really highs and lows, but it was cool because you fought Jewel and Dama and stuff. But it was neat because they tried a new way of storytelling, and they didn't get it right. And then Microsoft tried it again in a different way with Quantum Break, and they didn't get it right. But Microsoft was really pushing to tell stories with games and synergy with other things. And synergy is a corporate buzzword that doesn't work ever. It just doesn't. But they were trying it. And so that was fun to watch the journey that the franchise was taking. Mm-hmm. But I did like all that.
So, Q, with this being 343's first Halo game completely on their own, how do you recall it?
I recall Halo 4's campaign.
I'm sorry, did I say 3? I meant 4.
Oh, I heard 4, but that was my mind filling it in. I think Halo 4 is probably one of the best campaigns out of all the Halo games. In part because it shows us a true depth to Master Chief's personality and character. Mm-hmm. And you begin to see the depth of that relationship with Cortana, that friendship. People call it romance. It's not a romance. It's the friendship between like siblings in a way, right? It's like the friendship that you have with an older sister or maybe a younger sister that's been looking out for you this whole time. You know, maybe even a mentor. Or a protector. I was going to say guardian, but I don't want to get into that. And just a bit, I mean, there's that scene near the end when Commander Lasky is talking to Chief on board the Infinity, mm-hmm. the UNSC Infinity, and Chief is he's staring out the window of the Infinity, and he talks about, what does it mean? He's basically asking, am I even human? What is humanity, right? I've been for 25 years, I've been fighting for Earth. And for the last X amount of years, I've been fighting for humanity. I don't even know what that means. And Lasky says basically, and I'm not quoting them, but I'm kind of paraphrasing. Lasky says the fact that you're asking those questions means that you're human. The fact that you have these doubts inside of you, the fact that you're struggling with what it means to be human, that is a sign that you are human, Master Chief. And to me, that like the story was just, the cutscenes were very well put together. I thought Halo 4 as a game, combining even the multiplayer and the campaign, pushed the 360 to its very limits. You think about where the 360 started and where it ended with Halo 4. Halo 4 being one of its last games. The 360 was like pushing its engine and its hardware to the very edge to make that game run. It was a very beautiful game. It still is. You can go back and play it, and the campaign holds up, like how beautiful the campaign is. And so it shows you how powerful that machine was and how it pushed it to its limits. Part of me wonders if Halo 4 should have been a day one release for the Xbox One. And I don't want to, obviously that's a topic of conversation that I don't want to open that kind of worms. But, the fact it just kind of made me feel like Xbox One would have had a stronger release had Halo 4 been that flagship title on day one. But I'm not going to get into that. Spartan Ops was cool, but then Bungie took Spartan Ops, that idea of Spartan Ops, and they made it like their whole campaign. So I have good memories of Halo 4. The multiplayer, I think the multiplayer for Halo 4 was better than Halo Reach. Unfortunately, by that point, the fan base was a little bit too skeptical of the game. And that didn't help Halo 4's multiplayer. Also, by 2000, when Halo 4 comes out? 2013? 2012? Yeah. You are seeing a rising trend of competition on the FPS market. And
Destiny's out by that time, right?
Not quite. No, Destiny comes out 2014, I think.
Destiny was teased at that time, and they said it would come out real quick, and then it didn't.
It comes out 2014, I believe. Maybe 2015 actually, because it comes out the September after the PS4. So the Xbox One and PS4 come out 2014, I think.
2013.
2013?
Believe. Let me double check. Fact check.
Okay. Well, whatever year the new consoles come out, the fall of the next year, that's when Destiny hits the market.
November 22nd, 2013.
Okay, so I believe that Destiny hits 2014, fall 2014.
Okay.
Yeah, so Halo 4, I think it's a great campaign. It's a powerful story. It begins what they call the Reclaimer trilogy, which is not even a trilogy anymore. Unfortunately, like the multiplayer, which has defined Halo for a lot of people, was maybe not up to par with everything else that was competing with it, whether it was Battlefield or Call of Duty or I mean even Gears of War 3. That was a great game. Gears of War Judgment, also one of my favorite Gears of War, even though a lot of people don't like it.
Oh, I love it. I like it.
I thought Judgment was amazing.
That's a great game. Yeah, I think it gets a bad rap because it's not a numerical sequel, but it's
right.
It's great. There's never been a bad Gears of War game.
True.
Never has. It just hasn't happened.
Enter Gears of War Pop.
Hey man, that game.
That's gonna be fun. That's gonna be a fun game. I've never seen any gameplay, and I'm excited for it.
if it's in any way better than Spartan Assault, is a win.
Ooh. Oh, we'll be talking about that in a second.
Oh gosh.
Okay. Halo 4 to me had probably the most compelling storyline. I thought it was really cool with Cortana. Like you said, visually fantastic and stunning. And I was primed to be excited by what 343 was going to do. I thought that they did a fantastic job with this game. And I was ready, right? I was ready for what they were going to do next in the franchise. But as you mentioned, Spartan Assault is next. That was the next Halo release. So 2013 we had Spartan Assault. We don't have to talk about this for a long time. But did you guys even play Spartan Assault?
Heck yeah, I'm a Halo fan. Of course.
Yeah. I played it once it hit Xbox.
Yeah.
Because it wasn't Xbox, it was Windows.
It was a Windows 10 exclusive.
Well,
Terry Myerson's BS.
I played it on my Surface tablet.
I even have it on my iPhone now. But
Terry Myerson, I need a tangent. Terry Myerson ruined Xbox One's first 2 years and ruined Windows, and there's a reason he's gone. He wanted everything to run through Windows, which was a darn mess. It was a mess. And the moment he left, suddenly we're buying studios, we're making games, we're creating things. Terry Myerson ruined it. If they had put Spartan Assault on Xbox Live for $5, boom, we'd all liked it. But no, they put it on Windows Store exclusively. And my boy Q had to play it on his Surface. That's ridiculous.
What I did is I had a Surface at the time, and I just plugged a controller in. I was like, all right, this is my Xbox right now. Yeah. So I never actually even beat that game, I don't believe. I can't remember if I beat it or not. I mean, it was okay. I mean, a twin stick shooter, top down type thing. But Q, what were your thoughts?
It was Halo for a time when there wasn't a lot of Halo, right? And I think as a fan, I mean, you lived through the drought of Star Wars between. Well, I don't know. I don't know your Star Wars story, Nathan, but I know that as a fan in the '90s, before the prequels came out, it was it was hard to wait between Star Wars novels, and then there was a drought again after the prequels and before the build up to this new series. So I feel like every time there's a drought in content, you're like, man, like I'll play anything, give me anything, I'll devour anything. It's like crumbs, but sure, I'll eat it. It was cool to see Commander Palmer in a leading role. As I think she's the protagonist to Assault. I beat that game. It was fine. It gave me achievements on Halo, I think, so that matters. That's worth it. I didn't play Spartan Strike. I was just done with it. I'm like, I'm okay. Hard pass.
So with after Spartan Assault, that was in 2013. 2014, we got Halo: The Master Chief Collection. So let's talk about this just for a second. In theory, the Master Chief Collection is the ultimate game. It is. Yeah. It's got Halo 1, 2, 3, ODST, and 4.
ODST didn't launch with it.
Not at launch. Yeah,
it came later as a recompense. But in theory, that was supposed to be the ultimate Halo package, right? You were supposed to be able to go through and play every game. You had the remastered versions of Halo 1, Halo 2. Halo 4 had just come out, and it looked even better on the Xbox One. And it fell flat because they forgot the franchise, I should say, that pioneered in Halo 2 matchmaking, forgot how to matchmake.
It's incredible. It's honestly... I still don't know. I don't know what to say about it. It's just I don't know what happened. Right? It's like what the hell?
Yeah.
Which is I remember. I don't remember where I was watching it. They had a live release show for Master Chief Collection.
Yes.
They brought in Nathan Fillion. They had all these big people there. Like all the people that had been part of the franchise. It was like a victory lap. MCC was supposed to be a victory lap for Halo going into the Xbox One. It's to say this is we built this amazing thing. This is our victory lap, and the games ran really well, to be honest. Halo 2 Anniversary is a beautiful game.
It is.
It's incredibly those cutscenes by Blur. Oh my gosh, incredible. Beautiful, powerful. But when I went on to matchmaking for the first 2 months, I couldn't play with people. And it was, I just don't understand how something like that happened. To be honest, the game didn't have a multiplayer beta, which every Halo had up to that point and since that point. So it was one of the few games that didn't have a beta. So maybe that tells you, hey, that's the benefit of having a real beta for the multiplayer, right? It actually you can actually do stress tests. But I don't know, man. It was a real bummer. I'm not saying a successful MCC release would have, restored Halo to its glory, but it definitely did not help, and it hurt.
Yeah. Luke, Master Chief Collection, you were brought in via Reach, and now you had a chance to go back and easily play these other games. Did you get this collection? What'd you think?
That collection's why I bought an Xbox One. Nice. I loved it. I thought it was great. But that was because I didn't play any of the multiplayer. I only bought it for the stories. because Halo 1 was built up, and I had a bad taste in my mouth about Halo 1. So I was able to go back and enjoy it with some of the more modern amenities of a game. Same with Halo 2, which had just been remastered, so I was quite pleased with it. I liked it a lot, but we're finding out in the very long post game, Microsoft's commitment to fixing it, which is very cool.
Mm-hmm.
It's unnecessary, but it shows they really need and want Halo to be special, which I appreciate as a fan. But it was also jury rigged. All the code was jury rigged, and they're in the process of transferring and converting it all to UWP, which is a very good sign that it will last, and these games will be held and not restored. I'm trying to think of the right word, but the idea would be that we're able to play these games for a long time to come and not lose anything because they're going to be built in UWP. So I'm actually very pleased and excited with it. I think it's a good thing. I liked Master Chief Collection a lot, but I wasn't a multiplayer for that game. I had an Xbox One specifically to play those stories, and then Halo 5 when it came out. Beyond that, I was multiplaying on my PS4. So again, a unique Halo perspective, but yeah, I didn't need my Xbox One or my Halo Master Chief Collection to play multiplayer, and that's where it let people down, was in multiplayer.
Real quick, I forgot to touch on Halo Wars in 2009. The discussion of the blur scenes reminded me of that. That game, I don't remember getting too far in as well, because RTS on the console, while it was really good, just didn't, at that point, wasn't what I was wanting to play. So any quick comments on Halo Wars, the first one? Let's go with Q.
Oh, sorry.
No, I mean, go for it, Luke.
I love it. I love both of them. Halo Wars 2 is my most played game on Xbox. I'm playing it literally as we've been doing this whole podcast because it was calm and I could play something. But no, I love Halo Wars 1. I thought it was really cool because it showed that Halo can exist outside of first-person shooting. I thought that was cool. They'd done ODST. Halo Wars was special because it was branch. Spartan Assault later on after Halo Wars was showing another attempt at expanding it. Again, Microsoft tried to expand Halo many times. Some successful, some not, some with moderate ranges there.
Yeah. For me, it's one of those things where like Halo in as many platforms and versions as possible, because I think the more you make it available to all gamers, the more the IP grows, right? The franchise grows and draws more fans. It's not my cup of tea. The Wars, I own both of them, Wars and Wars 2. I played both of them. I actually bought Halo Wars 2 for my PC because I thought I would enjoy it more like that. And I did. I actually enjoyed it more playing it on my PC. And I beat it, and I love the story. But it's just not the way that I want to play Halo. I would actually prefer what is being done with Gears of War. They're coming out with an XCOM version of Gears of War,
right,
with turn-based combat. I would have loved that. I've been calling that for Halo forever, and I'm glad Gears is getting it. And if Gears does well with it, I wouldn't be surprised if they release like a Halo version of it down the road. If the one for Gears does really well. But so but I'm all about like different types of Halo games. I'm not a purist that we should only get Master Chief. However, I thought it was fun for what it was, right? I do find platform console based RTS to be really awkward.
Right. They did do a decent job with it and making that controller usable, though, so that was okay. Quick note: so from 2009 to 2015, we have a Halo release every year, whether or not it's an anniversary edition, Spartan Assault, Master Chief Collection, Spartan Strike. But in 2015, the 6th year of Halos in a row, we get Halo 5 Guardians. Now, this is 343's second real shot at Halo. Halo 4, we all liked it. We all thought it was really good. Halo 5 comes around, and the advertisements come out. The Hunt for Truth podcast comes out, and I'm getting jacked up. I'm getting super stoked for this game. I think it's going to be great. It's going to be this conflict between the Spartan Locke character and this Chief, and it's just going to be, what did Chief do? What's happening? This epic showdown. He destroyed some city or something. What's going on? I was so curious. I was really into what was going to happen and take place, and then we played it. and it just kind of like it opened out really cool. Like that first scene where you're sliding down that mountain and you're getting through that area, but then it just kind of
The light is green.
Yeah. It kind of just divulges into this who cares story. Like, you know, to me, I was so excited, but ultimately let down. The multiplayer was really fun. It introduced some really cool concepts in multiplayer, but again, I'm the single player. I'm the story guy. Q, what were your thoughts?
Halo 5 was the reverse of Halo 4. For me, Halo 4 had an amazing campaign and a lackluster multiplayer. Halo 5 has an incredible multiplayer. One of the best mechanically built multiplayers still today. It just works incredibly well. The multiplayer is one. I mean, it's just built perfectly, but the campaign is just as beautiful as it is because it is beautiful. You go into any mission and you look around, and even especially the ones in San Helios, when you're in the Elite Homeworld and you're looking around the Elite Homeworld, like that is a beautifully built map. Those are the main missions that I replay the most on Halo 5 are the ones in San Helios in the Elite Homeworld, because those are beautiful missions. The sky, what's it called? The sky, oh my God, whatever they call when you look up in a game, the sky trap, whatever that is called. Like, it's just incredibly built. But yeah, you're right. I mean, outside of a couple of missions, the story just kind of sucks. And they deserve every single bit of backlash that they got for it. It just, the story tried to move away from Master Chief, which maybe at some point it will happen, but that was not the way to do it. They tried to replace, I mean, it brought in this very dull character, Spartan Locke, which could have been a really good character, but it just kind of fell flat. It was like there's nothing about this guy that I really care about.
He's
if
cool
anything,
as Luke Cage, though.
Sure, but honestly, I thought Buck was a much better character, and we had Buck already in ODST, right? It would have been an easier sell for me to make Buck like this more funny team leader guy that kind of is trying to live up to this hero Master Chief than to bring in this robotic, completely flat, no personality, I was about to say Luke Cage, Spartan Locke, and to try to fill in the shoes of the Master Chief, you know? And it's kind of like, it was just, what the heck, man? And people picked on Cortana becoming the bad guy. Oh, sorry, spoiler alerts. But
it's okay.
That didn't bother me as much because I thought, you know what, like it's the concept of the AI is going rogue, you know, that to me is kind of cool. Because what we're seeing in the Halo universe is this over reliance on AIs. You know, the only way we can jump through slip space is because we have AIs that can do those incredible coordinations, you know, and make those crazy jumps across space. So we over rely on them. Master Chief relies on the AI the entire time, Cortana. So at some point, that over reliance was going to flip back on us, just like it happened to the Forerunners. The Forerunners relied on the AI to defend their homeworlds, and then Mendican Bias, which was like their lead strategist AI, turns on them. Because he's converted to the flood, to the grave mine. So it's almost like we are living through the same thing that happened to the Forerunners in their battle against the flood. The AI suddenly turned against us, and they're using that incredibly thinking power against our forces. So I'm not against the overall arc. You know, I can live with the arc. The cliffhanger at the end of Halo 5 is a very exciting cliffhanger because suddenly, who is going to stand up against Cortana? Right? Are the elites going to do it, or are they going to be humbled? You know, is humanity going to fight back, or are we just going to be conquered? You know, so it's like it's a pretty cool setup that they have, but the delivery of it just absolutely sucked. And I don't give a damn about like Team Osiris outside of Buck. Yeah. So I mean, but on the multiplayer end, Warzone is a great game mode. Breakout, the early version of Breakout was absolutely perfect until they changed it to the newer version, which kind of sucks. And then, I mean, outside, I mean, like I think Halo 5 introduced Spartan abilities in a way that made them, it was equally balanced across all players, which is how it should have been with Reach and with Halo 4. So multiplayer side is a great game. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I enjoyed the multiplayer side. Those are pretty fun. Luke, you said that you got the Ultimate Editions or the Legendary Editions for each game as it came out. Mm-hmm. For this game, wasn't it like 2 bookends? Like one was Chief, one was Locke?
Yeah, when I bought the not basic but the not highest version, that was just because of money. Mm-hmm. My girlfriend, we just moved her from the town she was living in to move in with me, and we still hadn't even moved into our actual house. So I actually ended up buying the bookends later. But I loved Halo 5. I think Q nails it when he says it deserves every bit of the backlash it got. And I think that's a very fair statement for any fan of it who liked it or dislike it, who liked it or disliked it. But the reason for that is very simple. When it comes to the marketing campaign for Halo 5, it sold us on a story that didn't exist.
Right.
And that's very frustrating. If they had sold us on the story we were getting, that'd been fine. Because the story's not bad. It's not good. It's not like a great story. It's not Halo 4 level by any means. But I was hoping that Fireteam Osiris would have been Noble Team 2. You know, I was thinking that Blue Team and Osiris were going to have a real go at one another. But there were a lot of lore problems within there. There was no reason for Locke to be the same height as Master Chief. That shouldn't exist within the Halo lore. Chief's a Spartan too. And like he should tower over Locke. Their rivalry was lackluster and boring. And it's frustrating because Michael Coulter, I thought he acted very well. That's Luke Cage, for anyone who's wondering. But his role was diminished. It's not even his voice that you hear in the game. And they started diminishing his role. And I think retrospectively, it could have been because he was starting to lead into some MCU stuff. But I don't know that. I don't know that that's actually confirmed. But it was just frustrating because you do visit San Helios and it's gorgeous and it's cool. And the story is decent and cool, but you have to know a lot about Halo outside of the Halo games to appreciate it. No one needs to, people had to Google what the Swords of San Helios did and who they are. And if you didn't, you had no idea what you were doing in that level, except that you needed to go here and shoot this group. No one knows who the Swords of San Helios are unless you read the books. You know, like that, they're a really cool group, but no one knows. And that shouldn't have to happen. And I also think the idea of the created, I think I disagree with Q a little bit. The created, I think, are dumb. I didn't enjoy the Guardians and that a rampant sect of Cortanos probably infected by the Librarian or the Didact from Halo 4. You got to be it's got to be some thing there that they're going to explain it away.
Yeah, man.
It doesn't.
Spark's coming back.
Yeah, he's got to be, and that's Mendican, you know, and like, I just thought it was a frustrating situation that didn't need to exist. All they had to do was tell us what it was going to be, or maybe not overreach. Tell small stories in the games and leave the EU to be the EU. Mm-hmm. So I thought Halo 5 still was a good game. Mm-hmm. I do stand by that. I do not feel bad for thinking that.
I agree with you about the concept of the Guardians, the mechanical things. I think that was BS. It's like why would you even title the game after those things? Yeah. They serve like a minimalist role. It's like titling Gears of War after, I don't know, man. Like
tickers.
It's like what?
yeah, and also like, come on, know your audience. If you know that Destiny is existing and it's the former creators of Halo, and don't call them Guardians.
Oh man.
Don't call them Guardian. And I'm reading Legacy of Onyx right now, which reference heavy on Guardian lore. And I have not finished it yet, but it's talking a lot about the Guardians, and hey, they're still dumb. Yeah. At least so far. And like Halo Wars 2's ending, fantastic. Halo Wars 2's expansion ending, fantastic. Yeah. Even references, might even tie stuff in. But we need the created to kind of get on out of here, because the Banished are cooler, the Flood are cooler, The Covenant was cooler, but you can't bring the Covenant back. Doesn't make any sense. Let the past die. Kill it if you have
to. Oh man. Oof. Kylo Ren in the house.
That's right. The Last Jedi was a good movie.
It was a good movie.
We can't get into that right now. So let's cap it off here with Halo Wars 2 for what's been released so far. We'll talk a little bit about what's coming in the future. But Halo Wars 2, again, I haven't yet played that. I know Luke and Q, I believe both of you guys have. So quick comments on Halo Wars 2 so far.
I think Luke has played more of it from what I can hear. So let me just drop in my 2 cents. I think Halo 2 is proof that 343 can, for God's sake, deliver a good story. Because Atriox is a compelling bad guy. Mm-hmm. That trailer where he demolishes that Spartan team and he makes them like crawl out of there on their 4 legs, on their 4 legs, on their arms and legs. That was like, dude, that is a villain. That is a villain. And he's this strategist. Mm-hmm. He can take you on head to head, but he can also outmaneuver you. Mm-hmm. And to me, that was proof that, okay, 343 has people in place that can write stories. This is a great story. Mm-hmm. I would have loved for Atriox to have been the protagonist in Halo 5, the protagonist villain, because yeah, and then maybe later make him also the protagonist for Halo Wars 2. Why not have him be in 2 games? You don't always have to kill the villain at the end of the game. He can, Darth Vader made it through multiple movies as the villain, Mm-hmm. So for me, Halo Wars 2, I won't get into the game mechanics because, like I said, that's not my cup of tea. But from the perspective of writing, like it was a great story, and it is a great story. And Atriox is this great bad guy. And to me, it gives me hope that, look, 343 can deliver great Halo stories. It's just a matter of just getting to it and doing it and not bullshitting with the fans. Or it's just your fans. We live in 2018. People have access to a ton of information, and you're not gonna BS them on stuff. If you take shortcuts, we will know. It will come out. We will find out. Someone's going to talk about it, or we will just see it on screen. We will see the shortcuts visibly on screen. So for me, my main takeaway from Halo Wars 2 is evidence that you can deliver a great story in the Halo universe. And it doesn't have to be Master Chief centric, but it can if you wanted to. But it doesn't have to be. So,
yeah. What
do you got to add to that, Luke?
Story was incredible. Cinematics were stunning. I would encourage anyone, no one that doesn't like Halo has listened to this podcast this far in, but anyone that's got a moderate interest and you have an HD TV, 4K TV, find a device that'll play it and go look up those cinematics because they are incredible. They are stunning. The story is wonderful, and you're playing an RTS with a wonderful story. Your characters have personality. Red Team has personality. Jerome has personality. Atriox has personality. Decimus and Pavium. And oh my gosh, the other guy, not Pavium, his brother. But it's cool because it had personality all over the place. Your villains were compelling. Nobody knew why Jul 'Mdama was a bad guy in Halo 4 Spartan Ops or the very beginning of Halo 5. No one knew why because we didn't really get a personality from him. We got that from the antagonists in Halo Wars, and it's just beautiful. It was well done, and it was scary. Like, Atriox is terrifying because he just literally cracks Spartan 2 armor with his hands, and you're just like, go. And I just read the Rise of Atriox graphic novel.
Oh, nice. Good for you, dude. Yeah.
Yeah, it's good stuff, man. That's good stuff. They've got something with the Banished. The Banished, at the height of the Covenant's power, could not be contained. You've got something real worth fighting. And if in Halo 6, or Halo Slipstream, pardon me, which I don't think will stay the name, but you've got the Banished, you've got the UNSC/ONI, you've got the Remnant, Covenant Remnant, you've got the
Swords of St. Helios.
Swords of St. Helios will be there. Thank you very much. Cortana's created, and the Flood. There's a lot of ways to tell a story there.
So many factions. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
And that's good. I like that. Just tie it in properly and give people personality. You know?
Absolutely.
Halo Wars 2 is fun.
Is that part of Game Pass?
Yes.
It is. Yeah.
Yep. And by the end of the year, every Halo and every Gears will be on Game Pass.
Oh, that's a good point.
Yeah.
So that's been a good walk down memory lane on the franchise side for the games. So I'm going to toss it to each of you for a couple minutes to talk about some expanded universe type stuff, to the novels, the comic, whatever. What is it that you think stands out the most to you from the expanded universe that people that enjoy Halo may also enjoy? So let's go with Q.
Oh, you mean like moving forward, like looking at?
No. What's been established out there so far as in the EU? So like those different books that are out there that people might enjoy, and also those comics.
I think going back to the early novels, which they had some really good writers. Actually, a lot of the writers for the early novels were also the writers for the video games, for the early Halo video games. So like Joseph Staten, I think he wrote a couple novels of the Halo novels. If you wanted to, the novels are great for people that were like, I like Master Chief, but I want to learn more about him and Blue Team, before Halo 5. The novels are great. Fall of Reach is a great novel into Blue Team. You get to know them really well before they make a comeback in Halo 5. The novels are amazing. I think the graphic novels are not as good as the novels, but they're still pretty good. And through the partnership with Dark Horse, there's always been at least one Halo series out in comic books. I think right now they have one called Collateral Damage, which is focused on Blue Team and Master Chief. So that's the one that's out right now. And actually, I'm waiting on reading it because I want to buy the trade paperback in December. I don't enjoy reading like 10 pages of a comic book and then being cut off. I want to read like the whole arc from beginning to end. So I'm going to wait till the trade paperback comes out. Let's see. And honestly, like as expanded universe, I know that like I just like to read the updates from Halo Waypoint on a weekly basis, because they release they tap into the community, they tap into the expanded universe, and they kind of highlight things that sometimes get missed in all that there is out there. And as far as we know, that TV series with it's the Stars, I think, is still in development.
Is it Stars or Showtime? And I don't remember.
A good question. It's one of those two. It's one of the S ones.
Yeah, that's how I remember it too.
But the last word from Kiki Wolfkill, one of the executives at 343, is that they're gonna start filming in the next year. So we can cross our fingers and be like, please God, let it be good. Because if something like that is good, because we talked about making Halo or any series, honestly, kind of renovate itself and reconnect back to a new generation of gamers or fans. Nothing would do for Halo what a great TV show could do for the series, because that is something that is accessible by everyone, right? Like whether it's not going to be Master Chief centric from what I've read, which is great, because that means that in a way it's great because that means that you don't have to be a Master Chief fan to enjoy a sci-fi TV show set in the Halo universe. And if it's done well, it can make people that never played Halo be like, like this story's kind of cool. Let me go back and play all the massive library of video games that are out there, or access the massive library of novels or graphic novels that expand on this story that I really enjoyed on TV. So hopefully that TV show delivers for what it is. So,
Luke?
I think if you're looking to enter into the novel world, look for the pastel covers. If just a basic level, if you're walking into a Barnes Noble, you don't know what to get, look for the pastel covers, because those are kind of the newer ones, and I think they're very well written. And I think they line up a bit better with some of the lore. Personal favorite standouts of the recent ones: Halo Last Light, really good one. Halo New Blood is an easy one. I'm looking over at my shelf to make sure I don't miss man, they're all really good. Smoke and Shadow is really good.
Do you like Kilo 5 trilogy?
Now, Kilo 5, that's the one. Kilo 5 was written by Karen Travis, who actually wrote Gears of War 3.
She's a veteran sci-fi writer too.
Yeah, she's written Star Wars, Star Trek. She wrote all 3 of the Kilo 5 trilogy. She
also wrote. I might be wrong. I think she wrote the Star Wars Republic Commando series too, and Imperial Commando too. Mm-hmm.
I think you're right, but I don't.
Yeah, I think I'm right. I'm
saying that, and I'm like, oh, I think Q's are on that.
She wrote a lot of the Mandalorian-based books.
Yes. She's an exceptionally good writer. She wrote a trilogy called Kilo 5 trilogy, and it's not always defined as that. Like if you were to Google it or go on Amazon. But those books are really good, but they're very intense and they're slow. They're very intricate and they tell stories. A lot of the expanded universe Halo stories, they're not Master Chief stories. They talk to you about other teams, other characters, Spartans, humans. A lot of Sangheili are referenced in there. But I like that. I love that. There's a team in the Halo lore called Ferret Team. I love them. They're really cool. Blue Team gets used a lot. The comic books I keep in my classroom as introductory pieces for a lot of kids that, want to be cool, but they also don't know what to read. The comic books are good. But really and truly, if you have anyone that's on the fence and they've really listened this far into the show and they're still not sure if books in the EU are for them, go on Wikipedia because it's a really cool story, just the Halo universe in general. It does rival the Star Wars expanded universe pre-Disney. And I read all of those novels. Like I was 100+ deep into those novels. And I once told my wife the story. I made sure I was going in for surgery, so she was stuck next to me, and I was like, all right, now that you're here, I'm going to tell you the story of Halo. And it's really cool how or why the Spartans were created had nothing to do with the Covenant. Mm-hmm. It's really cool to think why ONI exists and how just truly intricate ONI is, the Office of Naval Intelligence, and how deep their conspiracy runs within humanity is really cool. It's just a really fascinating, intricate story that you do not get when you aim down the barrel of a rifle in a video game. So it's well worth your time, but recognize that you're listening to 2 people who really love this universe, and we love it beyond aiming down the barrel of a rifle. And that is the allure of it. If you are curious, Wikipedia it, go look at the story because that'll give you the bullet points. But if you want to go in depth and find out more and why maybe these T-shirts are as cool as they are to some of us, why they created is a cool idea, why the Guardians are dumb but also kind of cool, like why are the new armor pieces relevant? Why are Spartan 4s special versus 2s or 3s? Even 3s are weird. Why does that exist? The EU is there for that, but you can get a lot of it from Wikipedia if you're not sure you want to put the time in.
Yeah. Okay. That has been a extensive walk down memory lane with the Halo franchise in the EU. But just briefly looking ahead with what we know with what was announced for Halo Infinite using the Slipstream engine at this latest E3, what are your hopes for the future of Halo, Q?
Oh my God, that is a big question.
Keep it down to a paragraph.
I hope that 343 continues to be bold in its willingness to allow Halo to be more than just a first-person shooter Master Chief. For example, more wars, more ODST, who knows, maybe an XCOM if the Gears of War one goes well. However, at the end of the day, I am a Halo fan in great part because Master Chief is a hero that I can connect with. He is a faceless hero, and I can connect with that. He's asking questions that as a person, as a human being, I've asked myself many times, So as you continue to expand on what Halo means, what Halo is, don't forget that Master Chief has to be a core part of that, because that's the reason why Halo succeeded in the first place. People connect with the Master Chief in a great way. And don't try to replace that, because you may kill the whole thing in that instance. So that's a paragraph, I think.
I think it's a little more, but I'll take it.
Oh, okay.
Luke, what do you want for the future?
I think I'm going to get it too. I want Halo to continue to be relevant. I want it to be special, and I want it to remain worthwhile in the eyes of the gamer the way it perhaps once did, because it's not nearly where it once was, and I don't need it to be there. The gaming landscape has changed, but I think under the direction of Spencer, Xbox's direction is going to allow Halo to be safe and exist in a way that's not forced, not annualized, not pressured to be what it is not. And I think, to Q's point, Master Chief is to Halo what the Jedi are to Star Wars. When you take the Jedi out, you remove something that's tangible and special. You can have the universe, and it can be interesting, but that's what makes it unique from any other sci-fi universe. And Master Chief makes Halo special in a way that just generic Spartan 2s or generic Spartan 3s or any other Spartans don't necessarily maybe make it special. Chief is more important than I realized, and I realized it in Halo 5. But you don't need to wipe away mistakes. You don't need to kill off a character to get rid of it. You can find new ways. Locke's not a terrible character. He just shouldn't have been presented the way he was. And he doesn't need to be the mainstay, you know? So in short, I would like to see Halo be special for fans and newcomers alike.
Sounds good. For me, I want Halo to have fantastic storytelling with rock-solid mechanics for control and compelling cooperative gameplay. That's really what I want. That's Halo in a nutshell for me.
Oh, and not Destiny. I don't want Destiny. I don't want Halo
true.
Destiny. I'm being serious. I'm sorry.
I don't want an ever online thing as well. I mean, that's kind of not cool. So we are now part of the Make Us Better group over on Patreon over there. So we have...
Hi, Sean.
We have a Make Us Better Discord now. And over there, I'm trying something new this time. So I shouted out a couple days ago that we are going to be recording tonight about Halo and about, just the Xbox Empire episode here. So I opened it up for some people to make some comments. And so I'm going to posit some questions and just read some thoughts. So Sean Capri. Hey, Sean.
Hi, Sean.
He says, I keep hearing people talk about Project Scarlet and how they expect next-gen games to be playable on current Xbox hardware. That's not how I, Sean, interpret the forwards compatibility model to work. What do you guys think? Does this question even make sense? So I'll start on that since I actually read it to give you guys some time to think. So Project Scarlet is going to, from my summation, from what I expect and from what I've interpreted from the views of the interviews from Phil Spencer and the company out there, that there's going to be Project Scarlet games that only work on Project Scarlet. However, all the Xbox backwards compatibility content that you've seen now and are probably seeing on Xbox One, like all that game that you own there, are going to work on Scarlet, whatever they call that. So it's going to be forwards compatibility in that sense. Now, I believe what I would like to see is if you have an Xbox One X, like that could be the entry point into Scarlet, but that there is actually like a Scarlet system that's even like the X of the current generation. But I do believe that Scarlet delineation will stop the original Xbox One hardware and the S from being able to play a game on a Scarlet-based platform. So I'd like to see Scarlet begin, I think is the right terminology, with the Xbox One X and then whatever the new hardware that they put out there. What do you guys think, Q?
Yeah, I just think it's unrealistic to believe that the next console is going to limit itself to the capabilities of the current console, right? Like, I mean, like that wouldn't be a new console. That would be the same. That would be just an upgrade. And I do want games to get better. So I feel like at the end of the day, like I don't know. I feel like I've stopped trying to predict what corporations are going to do. I feel like I always either get it wrong or I'm right, and I'm like, and I hate that I'm right. I trust that Phil Spencer, as a gamer himself, is going to try to be as customer friendly as possible, while at the same time innovating, right? Because we do want innovation. We will be extremely bummed out if the next Xbox is just an upgrade to the One X. I think we will. I think it will be kind of disappointing, because we do want technology to move forward and deliver better products. I just hope it's done well. And yeah, and I think the way that the Xbox One released, while not immediately burning out everyone on the 360, giving them like a phase period to transfer over, and to move over, and to not immediately feel like there was nothing left for them. I thought that was smart and that was wise, because it allows people to continue to enjoy the product that they have, while knowing that there's something already out there that they can, start saving for or get it ready for. So,
Luke?
I always interpreted forward compatibility to mean that if you, from this point moving forward, if I own a digital copy of a game, it will work on the next hardware. That's how I've always interpreted it to be.
Interesting.
And if so, I bought Halo Wars 2. Halo Wars 2 will work on Project Scarlet or whatnot. That's how I have interpreted it, and it would make sense given that we've now allowed for a new type of emulation to occur, in which Xbox 360 and to a smaller extent Xbox One games are easily emulated on our Xbox Ones. Sorry, Xbox OG, whatever. Those are emulated on our Xbox Ones. And now that everything's on x86 architecture going forward, and things are working towards UWP with a lot of Microsoft games, it's just going to move into the next platform, but network capabilities will just be emulated for anything old as needed, provided servers are online. So that's how I've always interpreted it. I think Q's right when he says we don't need to expect that new hardware should be bound by the limitations of the old hardware. If we do enter into a Scarlet S, Scarlet X, or anything like that, that's fine. But I would expect a big delineation between the two, and a Scarlet game does not run on an Xbox One X. I don't think that makes sense. Doesn't need to run on any Xbox One. But anything that is Xbox One or 360 needs to work on a Scarlet. That's how I've always interpreted forward compatibility.
Sounds good to me. Seth is the GOAT says, Halo 3 was really the first game I played online. It is also the only Halo game I've really played. So we need to comment on that, but thank you for the comment, Seth. Mr. Bad Bit says, how will they keep Halo Infinite from sucking? Luke.
Well, it's a valid question, Joseph. And by the way, shout out to Joseph, great YouTube channel. But all they need to do is stick true to their roots and not be built by committee. When committees design games or movies or entertainment, they have divided values and they divide resources. As long as they don't lie to their fans about what their product's going to be, and they stick true to a sincere vision the entire way through, they'll be fine. Simple as that. It's not a matter of graphics or anything other than experience.
Consistency.
Yeah.
Q.
I think Halo needs to show that it can, and Halo needs to deliver a great story, and I think an example of that is Halo Wars 2, with compelling characters and compelling villains and heroes. I think when it comes to campaign development, which is a lot of people nowadays, especially a lot of y'all, PS4 players, like you guys don't play multiplayer very much outside of Destiny. So,
but all their single player games have an NPC hanging out with them.
Right.
Every time. So that's multiplayer.
That is multiplayer, I guess. I hope that Halo doesn't suck by being bold and moving away from the tunnel of death mode that first-person shooters kind of been built around. Honestly, and I'm not saying Halo's going to look like Far Cry, but I think I could see Halo move in the direction of that type of gameplay, whereas you have a very well done first-person shooter build, and basically you are. I mean, honestly, I think Halo's going to look more like Halo Combat Evolved, but except you're adding all these other elements that are modern about gaming today that were not around with Halo Combat Evolved. But here's the crazy part: the multiplayer is gonna be built separately from the campaign, in the sense that the campaign is not gonna limit the scope of the multiplayer. So in many ways, Halo is gonna be two separate games. You're gonna have a multiplayer Halo, and you're gonna have a campaign Halo. And I wouldn't be surprised if those two components are released at different times. Because you have two separate teams building each part. You have a team building the multiplayer for it to be a great multiplayer, and you have a team building the campaign for that to be a great campaign. So I think they're going to finally apply the wealth of resources that 343 has at its disposal, and make something out of it worth sharing with people. Mm-hmm.
And for me, I'd just say that stay away from microtransactions. Get away.
They've been good about it. They've been
Halo 5, I thought they handled rec packs really well.
Yeah. I mean, that's the best way I think that they've can handle it, is just by doing those rec packs for people who want it. And it's typically just, well, it's cosmetic, but it's also ability kind of in a way, but it's single-use abilities. Mm-hmm. But you can really earn them pretty easily in the game anyway. So just be wary. We've seen some woes with the microtransactions, so that'll do it. And then finally, Kaboski. He says, I need to get back to the Halo novels. Really helped with the stuff that happened before, during, and after the game series. So I believe he's probably with you guys, and the fact that he enjoys that EU as well. So he needs to get back in there. That is going to wrap up our discussion. This has been long. I think it's probably 2 o'clock where you guys are at, isn't it?
Yes.
Yeah, dude.
Yeah, it's been a long night, so thank you guys for joining me. Luke, where can people find you?
I would really love it if people would go check out my Mixer page. I like to stream on Mixer. I stream a variety of games. Mixer.com/insipidghost. That's where I do a lot of stuff there. I'm trying to get to 250 followers, and that's when I'm going to be done worrying about numbers. Close, and I'm excited, and that's pretty much it. And you can go on Twitter at MLS Reserves, because I'm bad at branding.
Very, very nice. Well, thank you for joining us, Luke. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, man.
Q, where can people find you, buddy? People can find me most effectively on Xbox Live under the gamer tag Lobo Rican, LOBORICIN. If you're a PSVG fan, that you should be. I should be already your favorite person on PSVG. So yeah, part of the Nintendo hate club. Population 3 or 4. I don't know. I do have a Switch though, so oh well. And I'm on Twitter, but honestly, like, I'm trying to be a healthier human being, so I'm kind of staying away from Twitter. However, I will do my very best to do Twitch fundraisers for Extra Life.
Yes.
So you can find me on Twitch under the same thing as my gamer tag, Lobo Rican. Hopefully, we're part of the Make Us Better team on Extra Life, led by our fearless leader Nathan. Yay. So we're gonna raise all the monies, all the Twitters and all the monies for the Children's Miracle Network. So yeah, so I'm excited for that.
Yeah, I saw you joined in, sir. That was really cool. I'm excited for what we will do later this year. So you can find me over at on Twitter, and you can find my pinned tweet right now about the Extra Life page, so you can go there, check things out. My Twitter is voiced by Nathan, or if you're Dave Moore, it's voice ed by Nathan. You can find this show on Twitter at PSVG Xbox Empire. So come follow the Twitter handle over there. And you know what? Since Luke brought it up, I'm also in Mixer every now and then. I am streaming at Spider Jedi, which is also my Xbox Live ID. So come on, join the fun over on Mixer on Xbox. And we also have a community, or a club, I think they call it on Xbox, for the Play Some Video Games team. Come on, let's play some GTA or some Halo or some Sea of Thieves. Forza Horizon 4, when it comes out, will be active over on the Xbox scene, so come check it out. So again, gentlemen, thank you for joining me, And you, dear listener, thank you for listening to this episode. And this has been the state of the Xbox Empire. This has been a production of the Play Some Video Games Podcast Network.